Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose.
And I'm your producer, Brittany.
And here at Finding Arizona podcast, we collect the local stories of all entrepreneurs and from around the valley. So join us at findingarizonapodcast.com, where you can hear every episode and see it as well at
YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment below who you want to see next on our show. And when you're ready to start your podcast, you found the right spot. Found House, your next podcast production company.
Now, let's get back to the show. Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FindingArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose. As always, we bring in fantastic guests, and today is no different. As you could probably tell, I actually want everyone to notice this wonderful person with the wonderful smile.
Aww.
Felicia Romero. Thank you for coming aboard. You have a lot of hats. One being the fitness part, and the other part being you're a podcaster too. So I'm always excited to have podcasters come aboard. I always say you put two podcasters together, it's a fantastic time of storytelling.
For sure. Storytelling. And then, I think just sharing, like for me, I don't love scripts.
Yeah.
I like just candid conversation. And
Absolutely.
so even with my podcast, I made the mistake when I first launched it. I was so scared. I don't even love to go back to listen to those episodes because I cringe. I cringe. I'm like, Felicia, shut up. Just listen to the guest. Stop interjecting. And I was like, I'd have these questions and I didn't give myself room to really feel the person speaking, right? Yeah. And really listen because I was so okay, what am I asking next? Versus just letting the conversation go where it may. Yeah. And so I've learned. And so, it's so much fun speaking with a fellow podcaster because, we can talk about so much fun stuff and storytell and share.
I mean, again, I look at your, I was telling you that I was looking at some of your clips from your show, and I just always find the dynamics, in the clips too, where it's just you got some real fun guests, and they can run the gamut of different backgrounds behind them. Because I was looking at she was in New York, so she had
Karen.
Karen, and she had that New York background. I was like, wow, look at that view. Anywho, but just it runs the gamut. You never know. You never know. You do get some insight in background checks of who's coming on and stuff like that, but when you meet them face to face and what they bring to the table, it's just so fun to get. I was like, oh, you can pick out stuff. It's it's so interesting,
incredible, and I learned so much. You're speaking about the guest Karen Salmonson. She has a podcast, or she has a Instagram called Not Salmon, just because her last name is Salmonson. So everyone's always calling her Salmon. And
I get avocado because my last name is Acevedo.
Oh, right. So at first look, people see that. Well, I also get Romano too. So people will mistake my
I was
last name.
almost there, but we have a friend
Yeah.
who has a similar last name, and I always check myself.
Yeah. Oh, it happens all the time. But it's totally fine. But no, and she wrote a book called Your to Die For List, her book.
Okay.
And she even recommended writing your own obituary and living your life as though knowing that death is, and not in a morbid way, but it really forces you to live life to the fullest.
In an appreciative way too.
Appreciative. Yeah.
It's one of the things that I found interesting too is when you brought it up, was oh yeah, that's so cool. It's you can hey, I'm putting pen to paper of this is what I want it to say.
Yeah.
And so I have to live my life to fulfill that.
Absolutely. Because we even touched upon, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying.
No, I haven't.
I believe her name is Bonnie Ware. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the author.
This is our third.
Yeah.
Ding.
But she interviewed all of these people. It's basically The 5 Regrets of the Dying. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but number one was, not truly doing what they wanted to do. It was one of those things like listening to outside sources, or not staying in touch with people that they really cared about, or not being brave enough or courageous enough. And it's like, gosh, you can look at that. And that's why sometimes, like she pointed out, like writing that obituary and like thinking about death in a place, not that it's not from the morbid place, but from the place of like really allowing you to show up in your life today, knowing that our time is not infinite on this planet. So, yeah.
I love that. And that is just one story of very many of your podcast episodes I'm like wanting people to go check out.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you the question that we typically ask everyone that comes in our door is, give us a little bit of your origin story. How did this come to be your life? I can imagine as a child, it's like you have any assortment of things you want to do. And so I always go back to the childhood, because there's always something in that story of like the very beginning influences what you will do now. You've heard mine.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, if any of you are familiar with being the eldest daughter, which I am, I have a lot of that pressure of the eldest daughter. I was also born in an age where, and I think things have like totally shifted these last, 10, 15, 20 years from when I was young. But being a millennial, you leave when you're in college, like you move out of the house and you don't move back, you figure it out. And so that's really been my life. Like, not to say that that's wrong or right, kids, I know I have a younger sister who's 26 and she's still living at home, and I was well on like owning a home at that time. Right. So like things are just different nowadays. Obviously price and like lifestyle, things are just changing. But back when I was a kid, I was into sports. So I was also the first to graduate in my family with a degree.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Like college, or even to go to college. So I sort of set the tone for all of my younger cousins. Coming from a Mexican-American background, my Nana was actually born in Mexico, came here. She's born in like the 1930s.
Okay.
So when she came here in the late 40s, she was young.
Yeah.
She started working the fields, and she actually grew up in Gilbert. So that's where my family sort of originated from. And so, so we all live in that area. And what's incredible about my childhood as being the eldest granddaughter is, my mom always had this sort of, I guess, story in her own head of what makes someone successful. And for her, it's like, you've got to be a doctor or a lawyer, right? You have to have this accreditation, this like career. And so I'm not medically inclined. So I actually set my sights out on lawyer, and went to Arizona State. I had my bachelor's in political science. I even was an intern at the House of Reps. I was truly just following the plan that was made for me by others. Unfortunately, my mom, who was very much like put the pressure of me on as an eldest daughter to like set the tone, succeed, make the family proud, all of these things. And so as I was going down that road, I realized I was kind of at this crossroads, because at that time when I was studying law, took my LSAT for law school, I also started training people, personal training, so fitness coach, because it was easy for me to do. I did it right out of my home. I obviously moved out when I was 19, so I was in college at the time, living with my partner, and we converted our garage into a gym, and it allowed me, so I was very much entrepreneurial at a young age, but I didn't know what I didn't know, right? Like that naivete really like got me through a lot of years, because I just what naturally I was inclined to love and do. So I was a natural coach. Like I loved coaching. And then being with that partner at the time, who was also a coach, kind of introduced me to that world. I was like, oh, I could train people out of my house, the garage, and still go to school, still have my own schedule. And this was like, I was like 21, 22. So many years ago. I'm 43 now. And so I just loved it. And I had no idea where the road of fitness was going to take me.
Awesome.
I just knew this is what I love to do. And I was at this crossroads of purpose and passion, right? Like, what is my purpose on this earth? I thought that it was this one direction where my life was sort of planned out for me. I was going to go to law school. I was going to be a lawyer. And then you have this passion. For me, it was fitness. That was just like this natural inclination where I was like, ooh, I thrive in this. This is so fun. And like I took my LSAT, was a junior in college, going into my senior year. And I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I was at that pivotal crossroads where the hardest person to tell was my mom.
Oh, I imagine that.
Not understanding like, what? You want to open up your own gym? Like, you don't, let me tell you, I don't even know how to write a business plan at that time. I don't even know. I'm sure Google was a thing, but I'm like, am I looking up like how to write a business plan?
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I needed to do that. And I decided to pivot. I ended up getting my master's in exercise and wellness.
Nice.
And from then on, I opened up and ran gyms, my own gyms, for about 15, 16 years.
All right.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful story. I mean, incredible, because again, there's a lot of pivotal decision making,
and so many other pivotal decisions. Because when you're older, and this is where like I think you look at your life and you look at the things you've done. There was all of these decisions that you've made, all basically it comes from like a decision. So I tell a lot of my people, especially like women that come into my world, like, oh my gosh, what should I do? Like even indecision is a decision. Yeah. You being in that indecision. So like every decision created some momentum, which then created opportunity. And so like you are literally one decision away from a completely different life. And so like all the different pivots, and you probably have experienced this too, it's like the older you get, you realize, wow, I could like blow up my life, maybe get a divorce and like move over here, and like your life is completely different. Or I could open up this business, or I could leave my 9 to 5 and start this whole new passion project that I don't know where it's going. And there's something so amazing about the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Even though like our brains want the certainty, like our brains want the comfort and want the safeness, which is why a lot of times we're in these situations where we maybe aren't happy, but we're in it because it's what's comfortable and it's what feels safe to us. And so, for me, I don't know if you're familiar with human design, but I am a generator and my profile is 3-5. That may not mean anything to you right now if you don't know human design, but based on my own human design, I like to take risk.
Okay.
And I'm not risk adverse. So I'm a trial and error kind of person. And so I will do the thing and I will not even think about the consequences. I'm just, if I fail, it's like, okay, that didn't work. What's next?
Yeah.
And so that's sort of been the last 20 years.
My wife is more apt to like know what I am because she is more, she takes the test. She goes like, she likes doing that stuff. And I'm like, sometimes she'll give me the, like, try it. Yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, cause I know I knew my Myers-Briggs like a long time ago, the top of my head. It is just slowly like I forgot it just now. But anywho, I say that to be like, it's again incredible when you find that thing that like, again, you generate your passion from, and it feeds your soul to the fullest. And I slowly, unfortunately, it took me a little bit longer to come to that realization and to be given that pivotal moment of like passion over purpose. I mean, being someone like yourself whose life has been oldest on my father's side, and being Hispanic and also Latino, it's just like, it's one of those things where there is a level of pressure where, again, not everyone graduated, even high school or some of that stuff, and it's just,
or even had the parents, unfortunately, that push them to want to be better, right?
My dad was like, oh, you're going to college. There is no way you're not going to college, because he just knew. He was like, you're too smart. Like there's no way you can't succeed in this path.
Absolutely.
So there was no like thing. It's just more is like, I would prefer you choose a STEM place.
Yeah.
So it kind of influenced me. I chose more of like this even middle, like where I loved Legos as a kid. So it was like architecture. That is what one part mathematics, STEM, and then one part artistic.
Yeah.
I wanted to feed both sides of my brain. Yeah. And so I chose that path, and it didn't dawn on me there was what I actually graduated in was landscape architecture.
Okay.
And so that was something that I felt more passionate about, but I didn't know it existed until I got to ASU. So
absolutely,
there's changes all throughout my life, but I go back to now relating it to you, where I want to ask you, is there anyone in your family who is just as enthusiastic or at least interested in health and wellness like you were? Because I imagine it's like there wasn't like for me, my father, my grandfather were like healthy guys in the sense of like they just extra like they did the work. My dad went to the military, so he had like
Very
they had
different.
regiment and built that into his own life. But my grandfather was always like a jungle kid. You know, it's like in the forest, the rainforest, you're running around, eating healthy, moving.
Yeah.
And
Kind of
so
primal in a sense.
yeah, we're kind of primal
Yeah.
in a sense. So generationally, that's
Mhm.
where where my like influences of male features,
Yeah.
male health
Yeah.
comes from.
Absolutely. I would say no, not directly. My family hasn't had that like inclination to the health and wellness side. But if I were to just say like movement, most, even like generations and then even into my mom's generations, like a lot of physical labor work.
Yes,
My mom still cleans houses, so that's very physical, very
absolutely.
labor intensive. My grandfather and my nana, like my tata, when they came over, like they were working in the fields, like
Yeah.
picking cotton for not very much money, but all day. And so like
Labor intensive.
labor intensive work. But as far as like the fitness and wellness piece, no, like I didn't have any influence. It was truly like I believe in divine paths
Yeah.
in life and that certain people come into our life
Mm-hmm.
that are meant to either kind of like relationships. You have relationships that are either for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And so I feel like divine timing, divine paths are laid out.
Absolutely.
Also, decisions are made, that can either take you down different paths, but I do believe that fitness was part of that path for me. I've always been active. I played sports. I actually played softball at Arizona State.
How
So, yeah. So I got
what
to play.
position?
I played center field.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Really fast. And
Are you still like actively
I
interested in?
I love sports.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very sporty. I play pickleball now a lot.
Oh, get out of here.
And I would love to play softball again and things like that. I just haven't like carved out the time to do it, but super athletic. Yeah, very athletically inclined.
We'll leave the favorite sports teams for the end here.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
and then going into your schooling, and those decision making, I was in that same boat of like path, purpose,
Yeah.
and I chose. I think I was, I always like to put everything back into metaphors or just ways for my brain to digest kind of like how I live my life or how I interpret things. But one of them is like, you listen to your gut and you check in with your heart. Those two things are kind of speaking the same language, then you're on the right path.
Absolutely.
So when I chose to decide to switch my major, it was again a tough decision to like tell my dad I'm going into more plants than I am physical, buildings.
Yeah.
And it was a little tough, but he got past it because again, he's like, well, are you happy? And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy doing this. And so I was like, okay, then that's okay. Just keep doing it. And so, those types of moments, relief, but also just like, if I hadn't had that, I would have struggled like just going to school and like going through that schooling process without communicating what happened or what changed my mind.
Yeah, for sure. I have a question for you because you both have degrees. You both went to school, and I will not speak badly about school. I think it created a lot of like disciplines in me and like being able to finish something and like, set the tone for the rest of the family. But with college, especially now with like, you think, with college, student loans and all the things that you come out of college, you may not even be doing the profession that you set out to do, and all that money.
I am that.
Yeah.
In life, like that, literally that. And I still have student loans. But again, and I also changed from what I was going to school for.
Exactly. So like back to my question, like how essential do you feel school is now for people? Especially now since there's so many ways, again, this really had me thinking, especially back to the conversation with Karen, the not, you're to not die for a list. Really, following those passions in life, doing the things that you really want to do, maybe taking a year sabbatical and traveling the world, like really getting life experience versus that professional experience, because life experience is like, that's where the wisdom comes. And that's where like you really find the things that really light you up and that you can go after and make a career after, because now a career by. And so like with everything that's available to us now with the internet, now AI is such a big part of our life now.
Yeah.
We don't have to do the traditional schooling anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent as technology grows, we have to adapt as humans, and AI is a big part of that. And so, that was even a question before AI even came. Like
Right.
we're talking about like YouTube University sort of thing,
Right.
and that idea of like letting go of traditional means to get to a point of building a business or building something that you're passionate about is no longer necessary. You don't have to go down the path you and I did, or anyone who got a secondary. You could, and there are some fundamental things that you could get out of it, like essentially networking opportunities, but you could also take the chance in doing that yourself.
Yeah.
And I always like, we can even go back to the way that you live your life and decision making. If you're a to-do list person or like a pros cons list, for me, I am like, I need all the facts, all of the like possibilities. So now I've started to, for my own business, like I use, and this is kind of an inspiration from Gary Vee, which like use AI as your like almost subconscious. Like you got a question you want answered, or you like, hey, what happens if I do this?
Yeah.
It has the data to back you up and
For sure.
communicate with you.
And the more you use it, the more it's going to get so much better at telling you what you need, all the way down to like I was on this podcast interview with someone who had these radical like thoughts about AI, and he believed that in the future, maybe even within the next 5 to 10 years, that it'll be mandatory for doctors to use AI to basically diagnose you and have to come up with a game plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because essentially what they're doing too, and if you break down kind of like, I just had AI Daddy in here, and it's just another podcast. So it's like his profession, or like how he produces and works with businesses, is breaking down essentially what the business does to capitalize on what they do. So he injects like, okay, let's see a roadmap of every sector, every part of your business. Where can we influence? And one of the stories he came up with to me was like, oh, there was this group, the sales group and the coordination to the client. They were supposed to have a meeting. Well, basically, the sales group didn't want to have that meeting. They looked to him and said, how do we fix this with AI? How do we inject something that we can not have this meeting that we don't have time for to help us produce and keep our clients and make them happy? And so you can ask those types of questions because it will feed off of the data that you give it, or the question. Specificity is very key to that.
Yeah.
So every business is different. And I always find that interesting that the AI can actually get really specific data for you and help you influence your decision making. So
100%.
I go back to your ultimate question is, no, I don't think that if you're a passionate person, you truly believe that you're supposed to be down this route, then yeah, you don't have to go down traditional means. You don't have to go to a secondary school. You can just, I mean, even look at vocational school.
Yeah.
You can go to a community college, and then, if you want to build and save money or whatever it is, there's so many options.
Yeah.
I have met countless stories of like, guys who are just super into one thing with tech, and then AI came along, and I was like, it's a new world, and they made the dive deep into AI. And so there's so many things and so many technologies that grow with us that we have to learn to adapt with, that I just feel like, I made this joke yesterday and I'm going to say it again. We are all humans, and we are all agreed upon what society says about certain things. And you can look at even money. It's like, we all agree upon as society members of like, this piece of green paper means something. And so I get past certain things cognitively like that, where it's like, no, you don't need, like, you see it all the time on YouTube too. It's like, you see guys who just like, I built this totally generational, pivotal piece of tech, and I've never been to a day of college.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see these now 20-something-year-old influencers on TikTok that are multimillionaires
Yeah.
for literally just sharing their life. Now, that's not the road for you, but imagine like building this. There's so much value in building community. And so imagine building that community, but then creating an incredible mug line, or maybe you want to create your own like set of like merch and t-shirts.
Exactly.
Like if you have that community and that brand, that will take you such a far way. So like there's so many options, and that's why back to like, the traditional school or following your passion. That's why I'm a big believer in taking time
Mhm.
to sit and reflect and not just thinking about the next thing that you need to do, because that will also kind of keep you tunnel vision and keep you really, I think, leaving room for the magic that may pop into your life. And so when we take that time to reset, we take that time to maybe take a deep breath, figure out what you want to do. You're not going to figure out what you want to do by constantly being in the doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to figure out what you want to do by being in the being,
Yeah.
like by being present, by exploring, by enjoying life, by, like my good friend, my best friend right now, her husband decided they started a software company called Cohere.
Mhm.
And it's 6 years in now. And now they're 6 year in, they have, and subcontractors, employees all around the world. And they decided to take like a year sabbatical. I mean, they're still working, but they sold everything. They lived in downtown Phoenix. They're renting out their condo. They sold their cars. They're in Europe right now.
Oh, awesome.
And they've been in Spain. They've been in Portugal. They're living, and they're going to figure out what they want to do and what they really. I just had her on the podcast. So I chatted about this. I was like, what has this taught you about life? She's like, that we don't constantly have to be in the hustle and the go, go, go. Her living in Spain right now, everything moves so slow, and her day doesn't begin till noon, and everyone's a lot more present and with nature. And I think when you are in that moment where you get to like experience those things, it really catapults you into the things that you really want to do. And so I think it's important to take that time.
Yeah.
It's important to take that time for you and to really figure out what it is and then as you're in those moments, you'll stumble upon, wow, this is what I really love.
Yeah.
So if you're in a season of like no clarity, and you're in a season of like, I don't know what is next for me, not trying to figure it out is actually going to help you figure it out.
Yeah.
Like being in the moment, having fun, being present with your family, taking a trip, doing a little reset. Those are the times where those drop-ins happen.
So you bring this up, and my brain always comes back to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that moment of reflection was scary for some,
Yeah.
for a lot of people. But I mean, from our perspective, just being that we were interviewing entrepreneurs and just really getting to understand the fight, like the struggle of like keeping yourself and your business afloat. And I was looking at it from the perspective of, oh my gosh, all of these people have found silver linings in some sort of fashion. And even after COVID, we kind of hear the like ripple effect of what happened to a lot of the other businesses who are just slowly coming out of it as well. They were all able to look inward. I felt like look inward and say, hey, what do I bring to my community?
Yeah.
And like, essentially, I like to call it, when I was talking about it, the bread and butter.
Yeah.
It's essentially the bread and butter. It's like, what is the basic function that we provide most for our clientele?
Yeah.
And how do we make sure that they know that we still provide that?
Yeah.
And also it's still quality.
Yeah.
So it was amazing because I could see some of the wheels turning, and looking inward a lot of the times, leads back to yourself too. And so I felt it was amazing for a lot of people to make a lot of changes during that time.
Yeah.
And us included. She was pregnant at the time. So there was a lot of change for us internally, trying to wrap our heads around a new life coming into the world. So it was so many things, but I really took moments to like, oh my gosh, not only am I changing, all these people around me are changing, but they are changing like I am by looking inward. Oh my gosh, a lot of things have changed, but how do I stay true to myself?
Yeah.
and give back to that community that I've built.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
so,
gosh. So important. I love that you bring this up. And this is, oh my gosh, I think this is my theme for today because I just had a conversation. I know I just told you I was on a podcast with a relationship coach. He's out in Las Vegas and he wrote a book called Prioritize Us. And we talk about this, the moment, and this is where a lot of people get stuck because I think it's so easy, whether you are truly wanting to like change your life or maybe, you are having trouble in your relationship or your friendships or wherever. Instead of looking outward at your environment, instead of looking at everyone else and what they're doing, really the change needs to start with you.
Mhm.
And that's where you bring the topic of looking inward. The only way that your external environment changes, and if you want to change your external circumstances, it's actually going to have to come from your inner thoughts and actions, your inner you and how you show up in the world. And this is back to the doing versus the being. So I love like feminine and masculine work, and I'm not talking about in a gender roles. It's more of a place of being and doing. So when we think of like masculine energy, it's really the place of like, what are you getting done? What are you integrating? What are you implementing? What action steps are you taking to get the said result, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the feminine energy, and this is where I've struggled for many years, being eldest daughter, having to take care of my little sisters because my mom was working, taking care of myself, literally growing up. My dad left when I was 10. And so like my mom had to work multiple jobs. I was literally my little sister's second mom, essentially, at the age of 10, right? So like having to take on that responsibility. And at that age, I do believe that my adrenal system shut down and I was in fight or flight for many, many years. And I didn't realize it until my adult years when I was struggling with the same repetitive cycle in relationships, which is basically like my dad times 10 in relationships, someone who was abusive or didn't, was controlling or wasn't going to commit. I kept attracting that energy. I kept attracting that person. And I realized, wow, I've been in this fight or flight state, in this hustle state, in this survival mode.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to be in my feminine energy. I didn't know how to receive help. I didn't know how to ask for help. I only knew how to survive.
Yeah.
And so as you take that into adulthood, you start applying those same techniques to your career, your relationships, your friendships, this survival mode, this fight or flight, this nervous system like activation where you're just always this high anxiety person. And so I lived that. And it wasn't until Keith, who's my current partner, we were high school sweethearts. He came back in my life after me doing a ton of inner work.
Okay.
And I realized like, wow, when I'm in my feminine energy, in my being energy, who am I showing up in this world as? My environment changes. The way my partner treats me changes. The way that I show up in my work changes. The energy and how I show up on my social media changes. Who I'm attracting changes. And it all started with me. And so like I like to play this fine balance between the feminine and the masculine, where the masculine is absolutely needed. You want to get something done. You want to grow the Finding Arizona podcast. You want to scale it. You're going to have to do some action steps, right? You're going to have to implement certain things. But also the equally just as important part is how you're doing it and who you are as you're showing up in it. And that's been sort of my lesson these last few years.
Again, my brain is like digesting all of the things that you're saying and trying to relate it back to myself so that I can really take it in more. And one of the things that you brought up, the masculine energy, I go back to the metaphor that I really love hearing is like life responds to effort. No matter how much you want to fight it or say it doesn't, or life is not fair to me, life responds to effort. And so that's kind of like where I reflect on the masculine energy, whereas I reflect on the feminine energy is my wife, and just which her favorite quote came from, I think Theodore Roosevelt. It's like, nobody cares what you know, they care, or they want to know how much you care.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things that she told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so beautiful. And what I did was, that's one of her favorite quotes. So for one Valentine's Day, I basically made a wooden heart, and it's etched in that wooden heart
I love that. That's so nice.
It was, again, like it meant so much to me. It meant so much to her. But again, it's just like this reflection of her energy of like what she had taught me in that moment of like, as a male person, sometimes the concepts are like hard to wrap your head around.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever she brings things like this to help me interact and be more open with my emotions and reflect more about how I, treat people or, how we're about doing the clientele work where it's like how their story is being told and things like that. And making sure that not only the thing that I wanted most from this was to allow for us to be cheerleaders, but it's like we want to give everyone an opportunity to just share that story with the world. So,
absolutely,
she's a constant yin to my yang.
That's great.
And so I'm very, very blessed and happy that she's a part of my life and that she cared so much about this podcast to want to make it successful. So
that's incredible.
It's a very like, again, you brought up like, like this weird, like not weird, but it's like, it felt like the universe brought her in at the right time for me.
100%.
And so I say to her, it's like, I listened for the first time in a long time of like, just letting go, like stop trying to control it.
Yeah.
Just let it be. And like, let's see where this goes for the first
control.
time. Yeah. Like
control leads to suffering. Unfortunately, like, oh,
yeah,
think about, that's the way I like to look at control. And this is something has been my life lesson because I am so like wanting to control the outcome of the situation when I'm not. It's like these like, I've just created all of this suffering inside of me. And think about like a puppy or like something so cute. You just want to like squeeze it and hold it and you're going to kill it, right?
You hold it too tight. Yeah.
You have to just really surrender to whatever maybe. And yes, like take action because like I mentioned earlier, action creates momentum, which then creates opportunities. And you're one decision away from a completely different life. So those actions have reactions, right? It's the law of, it's a law. I'm not sure which law it is. Law of assumption, law of attraction. There's different laws, but like you have that action and you're going to get a reaction. So that's why if you make a poor choice, you get behind the wheel after drinking, you're going to have a reaction, right?
Absolutely.
Just like with a good decision. And so like, you have to think about that because every action creates momentum, which then creates opportunity.
Do you want to hear what my action was? My positive action momentum?
Yeah.
She asked for my Wi-Fi password and I gave it to her.
Yes. Perfect.
And then it led to more conversation. Like, how you doing? How's it been? And just like it built into her friendship, which then built into first date.
Yes, I love that.
And so, it was, again, it's those, I'm connecting in the sense of like all of the things that you brought to us today. I'm really taking it in because it's really great to meet someone who can not only, bring these concepts to life for me, but also just, again, a podcaster to podcaster relationship. We can divulge and feel comfortable in our skin because this is something that we do on the daily.
Yeah.
I just leave our end conversation to goal setting and just like future things that you want to maybe our audience can help you with or something like that you want to put out into the universe.
Absolutely.
The floor is yours. Go right ahead.
Oh, thank you. I guess for me, one of the things that I really love, so back to like making decisions and so like trusting your gut.
Yeah.
And so, earlier, actually late last year, I was approached with an opportunity to become a franchise partner with a company called Om Fitness. And so I'm back in the gym world and they're a local company and they're branching out and really building. It's my first time being part of a franchise.
Wow.
But I really, you mentioned intuition earlier today. And I think if you could I want to just like relay this to the listener right now. Take a moment today. No distractions. Like truly, and again, this is kind of a form of, I guess, meditation, if you will, but like no distraction, no audible, no listening to a podcast. I know you're listening right now, but like find 5 to 10 minutes because I live in a distracted world. I realize like I wake up and I turn on an audible or a podcast. I'm listening to it while I'm getting ready. Sometimes when I'm at home, working from home, I have background TV on. Like silence is hard for me.
Same. Oh, I'm the same.
But man, when I'm in that silence and I take a couple of deep breaths, I want you to just get really clear and ask yourself, what is it that you want in life, right? And you're going to have some incredible moments. Now, it may not happen right away, but the more you practice this, you're going to have some downloads. You're going to have some things that drop in for you.
Yeah.
And for me, when I get incredibly quiet and I ask myself those questions, and back to the Om Fitness, when I was presented with this opportunity, I at first said no. Like, I don't want to get back into the gym world. There's actually the reason why I got out of it, because it left me burnt out. And, if you've ever asked yourself, gosh, I wish I knew back then what I know now. I was in that place, because back then the old Felicia did not ask for help, did not delegate, did all of it herself. And it led to burnout.
Yes.
So the person now is like, nope, I have to really sit with myself. I said no at first, sat with it for a few months, and they came back to me and with the different proposition and proposal and operating agreement, I was like, you know what? I can feel it in my body. This feels aligned.
Yeah.
And I felt it. I felt the nudge. And so I trusted it. And so I said yes. And so I've been in this position for the last 7 or 8 months, and it's been really incredible, and the learning experience along the way. But it really is a new way of bringing fitness to people's lives. It uses EMS technology, which is electromuscle stimulation.
Okay.
As we're electromuscle stimulation of the body. So it's 90% deeper muscle contraction than a traditional workout.
Yes.
So think of a traditional workout and you're doing a shoulder press. Typically the last 3 to 4 reps, you're like, ugh, you're really pushing. With EMS, it's instant time under tension with your muscle. Wow. And it's only 25 minutes. So 25 minutes equivalent to a 2-hour high intensity. And the reason I love it, the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's really creating a more efficient way to train. I'll always love lifting heavy, and I love, yes, do cardiovascular work. But for those who are struggling with joint pain, or older individuals that can't do high intensity workouts or burpees or really high impact movements, this is a great solution for building muscle for those that are injury prone, or who, it's great for athletes. It's great for moms who are busy. It's great for people who are injury prone or who can't do high impact. It's really a great tool and solution to keep your muscles from atrophying. And so I just wanted to mention that, because a lot of people don't know what EMS is.
Yeah.
And there's a reason I said yes, because I do believe this science and this tool are going to really help a lot of people.
Before you go, I would love to just ask, was there any EMS research or that came across the podcast, or someone that you kind of got maybe a little bit more information, or just the inclination of working with this kind of technology?
Yeah.
Something that you may have come across your podcast.
So many articles, so many studies, so many, university studies around EMS, and it actually originated in Europe.
Okay.
And so it's now made its way to the States.
Yeah.
But for instance, I have a gentleman with MS who just bought the Om at Home kit.
Oh, wow.
And, with MS, neurologically, you just don't have the same activation as someone without MS. And so it's helping him. It's involuntary muscle contraction and keeping his muscles from atrophying. It's great for that time under tension and just really just that deep muscle activation and mind-muscle connection. And so, there's so many articles, so many benefits to EMS. And there's dozens and dozens of studies. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Thank you so much for at least coming in and just share. Again, you have two sides to you that I feel are very unique, in that you have the fitness side, but you're also this coach and someone who really cares and shows how much she's interested in knowledge and just wanting to open herself up to that knowledge. So again, I really want people to get both sides of you, because ultimately you are the tree, and this is the story that you have, and you're branching out and you're doing a lot of the things. So I want you to get your roses right now and have someone who says you're doing fantastic work, and I have high hopes, and I have no question that it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And then before you go,
Yes.
please, the promotional bits, we need to know where to find you online and everything. So let the audience know.
I hang out over on Instagram. So at Felicia Romero, just my first and last name, Romero, Romero. And my website's FeliciaRomero.com. I own the Om Fitness in Gilbert. So Williamsfield and Wrecker. Okay. And you can find me over on Instagram. So if you send me a DM over on Instagram, I spend a lot of time there. So you can definitely, there's links and stuff that you can, get a hold of me. So
awesome. Yeah. And before you go, you can listen to every one of our episodes at findingarizonapodcast.com. Social media wise, we're under Finding Arizona Podcast. And if you would also do me the biggest favor, like and subscribe wherever you are listening to this podcast. So also, we end every conversations with our guests with the kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.